Hey everybody, it's Naya. Welcome back to Naya Reads and Smiles. Today I have a little reading vlog. I have so much to like catch up slash like show you guys. First things first, what am I reading? I am currently 150 pages away from finishing Call Down the Hawk by Maggie Stiefvater. The Raven Cycle series, one of the best series in the entire world. Yeah, it got a spin-off and now we have Call Down the Hawk and it is amazing. I think somewhere on Maggie's website or just on social media, Maggie said that you didn't or you don't have to read the Raven Cycle series to get what's going on in Call Down the Hawk. But let me tell you, if you've seen this book and are interested in reading it, please, for the love of God, like please read the Raven Cycle series before you go into this, because like the reason why this book is so good, which is what we'll get into like the details in a second, because obviously your girl has been up till 3 in the morning reading this. The reason why Call Down the Hawk is so good is because of the 4 books that came before. In this book series, we're following 2 of the characters that were in the Raven Cycle. We're following Ronan, as well as like his brothers, and Adam Parrish. They're kind of like the 2 main characters that are carrying on from that series into this one. One of the characters in this book, I'm not gonna say which one because I don't want to spoil anyone who hasn't read the Raven Cycle, but one of the characters can pull things out of his dreams, and that is something that we learn in the Raven Cycle series and becomes a pretty big part of that series, which is why I say you really need to read the Raven Cycle. Also, I consider the very last book, there's 4 books in the series, but the Raven King, which is the last book, number 4, I honestly consider this like the first book in the Dreamer trilogy. I mean, I know this is technically the first book, but like by the time you get to the 4th book, Ronan is such a big part of the book, and like you gotta read the other 4 books before you get to this one. So to sum it up in short terms, I am absolutely in love with Call Down the Hawk. The reason why the Raven Cycle was such a good series for me is because of the characters. Maggie just creates these characters that are so real and you just want to like be a part of their little friend group. We have so many new characters. Okay, Jordan is a character in this book. She's amazing. She's a forger, so she like can forge paintings and stuff. Like she makes fake versions of paintings and sells them as if they're like the original copy. Yeah, she's amazing. She has an afro. She's just so she's awesome. Ronan, who's the main character, he has 2 other brothers, Declan and Matthew, and just like throughout the whole Raven Cycle series, my favorite chapters were the ones with Ronan and his family and Adam Parrish. Like those are like by the end of the book, those were the only characters I really cared about. Like I mean, I love Blue and Gansey, but yeah, I was living for Adam and Ronan and just all of that. Oh my god. Okay, so Maggie has expanded on this like power that one of the characters has, and there's so much more, like I would say more magic in this book than even in the Raven Cycle series, because it really doesn't get magical till maybe like the last like 2 books. So Call Down the Hawk is definitely looking to be a 10 out of 10 book. If you could see, I still have 150 pages left, but I've already sticky tabbed the heck out of it. It feels just like everything that any character thinks or says, I just have to highlight it because I'm like, yes, I agree. I've thought that before. I've like, my goal today is to finish this book, which hopefully I'll be able to do, because if you guys can see over here, I am about to leave on a trip. I am leaving on a plane in 24 hours and I have not packed my suitcase, and I still haven't finalized what books I'm taking on my trip. I'm going back home to Hawaii, but this time I think I'm gonna be staying until like mid-January, which is why I'm taking so many books. I'm just taking a whole suitcase of books to my mom's house, and she's getting like a little bookshelf, so I'll have an area to film, so I'll still have videos coming up. Hopefully also I'll be able to do some like exploring bookstore episodes back home in Hawaii so you guys can see. Oh my god, I want to take you guys to the bookstore and the library that I grew up at. So that's like a video you guys can anticipate once I get back in the islands. I am currently like, I think I'm done picking out the books, but I'm gonna go through all of them with you guys today so you guys can see what books I'm taking with me. Had a few packages I wanted to quickly unbox, and then do some reading and eat breakfast and drink coffee, and then go through all those books with you guys. It's gonna take a while. I received this book box from Big Honko Media. You guys, there is a blanket in this book box, and it is so soft and so pink, and I'm gonna take this on the plane with me. Look, it has, what is this called? Not a monogram. What is it called when you put your initials on things? But look, just look, it has the letter N for Naya, and I don't know if they did this on purpose or if the N is supposed to stand for something else, but I'm just gonna assume it stands for my name. The book that came in here is The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna, and it says an epic story on the cover, so I'm pretty excited about this. It says this book takes place in Alaska in the year 1974, and we're following a family that lives off-grid. Thank you so much to Big Honko for this one, and they also sent like a little package. Okay, so in this package is a bunch of stuff to kind of go along the book. So the first thing here is like a little music playlist that the author put together that kind of like goes with the book, because the book takes place in 1974, so these are all songs that kind of came out during that year. Oh my god! There's also recipes on here, which is so cool. Again, I'm guessing like these food items are included in the book. The other package I received here, I'm not sure if I can show you guys everything in this package because it's for something I'm doing with Penguin Teen, which I'm so excited about because it's like holiday related. Okay, the first book in this package is one that I've been highly anticipating, and I wanted to unbox this because I plan on taking this book with me with my like 35 other books back home. Aurora Rising by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. They are like the ultimate sci-fi duo. Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff wrote Illuminae, which is one of my favorite space sci-fi books, and this is another space book that they're writing together. I believe this book is young adult, and we're following a group of space cadets that are kind of put together and have to like go on a mission in space. I don't know the full details of it, but I kind of want to go into it not knowing too much because I feel like sometimes space books can be very predictable. One way in which you can kind of steer off some of that predictability is just by not reading the synopsis. Also, this is one of the coolest covers I've ever seen. Normally, like, I'm not a fan of like people or faces on the cover because I like to kind of imagine the characters myself. This artwork is so good, and I'm gonna guess that this is our main character, and she just looks so cool. Look at that like silver streak. The next book that came in here that I'm so excited about because I saw the HBO trailer for this show, and I had no idea that this was originally a book series because I watched the movie called The Golden Compass like way back. It was it 2007 or 2008 the movie came out. The Golden Compass is book 1 in the Dark Materials by Philip Pullman. It's gonna get a new adaptation. I'm not sure if it's going to be an extension of like that movie or just like totally separate. I saw the trailer and I'm like, oh my god, and it made me want to go and read the series. And I know it's an older series, but I really enjoyed the movie when it came out. I didn't know it was based off a book, otherwise I would have read it. Penguin sent me the very first book, and it has the movie cover edition, so hopefully I can read it before the show comes out. Is the show already out? I don't even know. I canceled my HBO subscription after the last Game of Thrones episode, so gonna have to get that done again. I don't even remember what this book series is about besides there being children who have like familiars or who have animals in which their life is tethered to, or that I don't know. There was animals in it and like 11-year-old Naya was just like, yes. Then I received the new cover edition of The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon, which is one of my favorite books by Nicola Yoon. Yeah, this is the movie cover edition with the 2 main characters on it. Lastly, they sent me a finished copy of Wilder Girls by Rory Powers, another book that I just absolutely loved. I do have a reading vlog on this one if you guys want to check it out. I'll link it up here so you guys can watch it. This is one of the best like sci-fi post-apocalypse books that I've read recently. Last thing I wanted to show you guys before we get back into reading this book and hopefully finishing it before like 4 p.m. My goal is to read until 3 p.m. And then I'm gonna force myself to finish packing and just get everything together because my flight leaves at like 10 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. Look how cute this tumbler is. It says my weekend is all book. My step grandma, she got me this for Christmas and it's adorable, and I'm also packing it on my trip. And yeah, I just have to show you guys because it's so cute. Time to go back into this world. I will check back in when I am hopefully finished at 3 p.m. Okay, so we just found something out, and I have a theory about a certain character now that we know he can do a certain thing. And I'm real scared. The character, like this thing that he can do could kill him. And Maggie, you better not. You better not hurt my boy, okay? It's just, that's just, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel. I mean, it's really cool what he can do, but also like, if you kill him, Maggie, please excuse the giant pile of hair products. I literally purchased this all in bulk so I can take with me on my trip. So just, yeah, just like Maggie, like her writing style, which is something that I really love but is also really frustrating sometimes, is that she withholds information until the absolute last minute. For example, there's this character in the book that we sporadically have been getting chapters following her, and I have no idea who she is, only that like every chapter like something really dramatic happens. I'm like, wait, hold on, go back, who's that person over there? Throughout the entire book we like really didn't really get any hints. I mean, I've had a couple of predictions of who this person might be, but yeah, Maggie saves all her answers for the end of the book, which is the most brilliant like writing thing to do. Every author says, you know, you want to you know, get your reader to ask a lot of questions, but then don't give them the answers till the end. Maggie is definitely someone who does that. I want to read you guys one of the lines that I annotated from the book, but I feel like every line I annotated is a huge spoiler to either A, like the personality of the character, or just the overall story. It just wouldn't make sense unless you read it and then, you know, there was like context to it. Yeah, just know that all these little tabs are just stuff that is wonderful. Okay, so time to get into the books. This is my little suitcase of books over here. I know what you're thinking, how is all of this Naya? Just know that I have just not properly stacked everything in here yet, but I know I can make it all fit. Before I go into detail, because that's gonna take a bit of time, today's video is so kindly sponsored by my friends over at Skillshare. You guys already know I've worked with Skillshare a bunch of times in the past. They are a wonderful, wonderful company. Skillshare is one of the largest online learning communities. They are wonderful if you're a creative or pursuing any sort of creative career or hobby, whether that be writing, filmmaking, photography, or if you're just wanting to better your entrepreneurial skills, if you're starting your own small business. No matter what your interest is, Skillshare has amazing professionally taught videos. For me, I love their writing videos. Those are my absolute favorites. I believe they have a writing video specifically for creative writing. I think it's called Creative Writing for All, and it's like a 10-day journaling challenge. It's just wonderful to kind of better your creative writing skills. A premium membership with Skillshare gives you access to unlimited classes, so you can just go and just watch all of them. So yeah, if you're someone who wants to develop your skills and just loves learning, then I would highly recommend checking out Skillshare. A membership is less than $10 a month. If you want to get a 2-month free trial to just go and explore the website and watch videos, there'll be a link down below that you can click and sign up with. First few books I have here are books that are new releases that I am absolutely bringing with me because there's no way I can finish them today. My goal was to finish these books before I left, but yeah, that's not gonna happen. Wayward Son by Rainbow Rowell and Dark Dawn by J. Kristoff. Oh, this is the second J. Kristoff book I'm bringing because I'm bringing Aurora Rising. This is the third book in the Nevernight series, and this one is the second book in the Carry On. Is it gonna be a trilogy or just series? I'm not gonna go into too much detail with all of these books just because I have so many of them. And also I plan on doing reading vlogs for all the books in here. Yes, I'm sticking to it, so we're gonna go into more detail in future videos. I also put We Hunt the Flame in here. This book has been on my TBR cart since I hauled it, I think like 2 months ago it came out. The cover is so gorgeous. I'm so excited about this book. Another fantasy book, like I said, majority of these, you guys know, are fantasy, but I tried to add, you know, non-fantasy books in here. First contemporary book that I have here is By Your Side by Casey West, and this book sounds so cute. So basically we're following our main character who gets locked in a library for an entire weekend with her crush. I feel like that's like every book lover's dream, right? To get locked in a library, but if you really think about it, it's kind of terrifying. Like I would, after like the first day, I think I would just like throw a chair through a window and get out because my claustrophobia would just be like, I need fresh air. There's another book by Casey West that I have called P.S. I Like You. I don't know where I put that book, but if I find it, I'm gonna throw it in here as well because yeah, I've read like the first chapter of this book and it's so cute and it's just like a really fast-paced contemporary. Okay, I need to finish this already. It's been out for what, like 2-3 months. But the next book I have here is Ghosts of the Shadow Market by Cassandra Clare. This is the bind up of novellas that take place after the last book in the Dark Artifices. I don't know, like the timeline for the Dark Artifices series, it's like so mixed up in my head. This is Cassandra Clare's most recent book. Actually, did Chain of Gold come out yet? I don't even know. Okay, this may or may not be Cassandra Clare's recent book. She pumps out books like every 3 months. She has books coming out. I really need to finish this. I am also putting the Guinevere Deception, which is another book that I recently hauled. It's another fantasy book. It is a King Arthur retelling, but in this book, Guinevere is a changeling who is sent to marry King Arthur in order to protect him and his kingdom. So it's kind of like a little twist on the story. Okay, the next book. So I have not finished Lair of Dreams yet. I have 100 pages left of this book. It's the second book in the Diviner series. It is amazing. It is also a huge book, which is why I haven't finished it yet. I am enjoying it just as much as the first book, if not more than the first book. I think I talked about it a little bit in my last like reading update video, but yeah, this was another book that I was hoping to finish before I left, but I have not yet. So this is actually going to be my airplane read. Yes, you guys better believe I am taking this book with me. We are finishing it before the end of this year. I am determined to read Strange the Streamer. I have been putting this bad boy off forever and I really need to get into it. It's a very big, that's not a very, I need a more descriptive adjective, dense fantasy book. I read the first chapter. The writing kind of reminds me a little bit of Seanan McGuire. If anybody's read Middle Game by Seanan McGuire, it's that same sort of very whimsical, I don't know, I've only read a chapter of this book, so I can't really say anything, but based off that one chapter, I was like, okay, I'm gonna need to not be reading 4 other books when I go into this one. So I have a sci-fi book that I threw in here as well. I put Arkwright by Alan Steele. Now this is a slow-paced space book. Say that like 10 times fast. This is a contemporary science fiction, which I don't think I've ever read a contemporary science fiction. Usually the science fiction books I read are like very fast-paced, very like the world's gonna end unless we like kill the aliens sort of sci-fi books, you know. This one is a book that follows a group of astronauts that are looking for another planet to colonize outside of Earth or something like that. This novel is supposed to be very realistic, like this could actually potentially happen in the future. Sounds very interesting and it got really good reviews. Winter Song by S.J. Jones. This is a Goblin King retelling story. It's been a while since I've read like a Goblin book. Usually like the fantasy books I read are like Fae or pretty much just like fairies, yeah. It's supposed to be very beautifully lyrically written. Okay, and of course, I am bringing The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I recently read Circe by Madeline Miller and it was amazing. I just about cried like 6 times reading that book. The second book, or no, this is her first book and Circe is the second book, but I never read this one, so I have to go back and read the first one now. In Circe, we are following the goddess Circe, who is the son of Helios, the sun god, and a river naiad or an ocean naiad. In this book, we're following Achilles, and he's supposed to be like the golden boy, you know, golden god, and I'm really excited just to see his perspective because Madeline just writes these characters or writes these gods in a way that makes them feel very human. Well, they're not human, but they feel, she just makes it easier to understand them. The Sea by Runa Sepetys. Now this is a historical fiction book and every single person who has ever recommended this book to me has said, Naya, buy the tissues because this book will make you cry so much. Okay, the next book I have here is Wild Card by Marie Lu. This book has been on my TBR forever. Second book in the Warcross series. I read the first book, Warcross by Marie Lu, back in 2017, I think. think, or 2018. That book was so good, and we're following our main character who gets drafted, or who gets chosen as a player in Warcross, which is like this virtual reality game. So fun. It was like the first really good sort of gamer book that I read. So yeah, Wildcard is the second book, and the first book was so fun, and all the characters were awesome, and our main character was just so cool. She has like rainbow dyed hair. What I have here is 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami. You guys know I am obsessed with Haruki Murakami ever since I finished After Dark, which was like the very first book I've ever read by this author. Everyone recommended that I read 1Q84, which is supposed to be like this really cool futuristic book that kind of like has jumping timelines. Anyone who's familiar with Haruki knows that his writing doesn't follow the traditional sort of Western style of plot line, and his books kind of just go in every direction and are very character driven. This is a bind up of the first 2 books in the series, which is why it's so huge. Okay, speaking of books that have been on my TBR forever, so Starters by Lisa Price. This is the oldest book I think I have on my TBR. I got this book when I was 15 because the plot sounded so cool, and I just never got around to it. I don't know why. This is a dystopian book in which in the future you can rent out your body to people who are older. That sounds so bad. Oh my god, no, okay, not like that. You can rent your body to people who are like older and or are almost like dying and can't physically move around anymore. Starters are these teenagers who are willing to sort of like rent out their bodies temporarily, and enders are senior citizens who are the ones that have enough money to pay to be young again for a little while. So the concept of the book sounds so good and so creepy. And then, okay, I have heard amazing, who did I recently hear talking about this book? I don't remember who, but Sorcery of Thorns is a book that I have been seeing going around. It's a fantasy book, and it's about this girl who has to guard a library full of books that are kind of like alive. She protects these books for sorcerers who are really bad people in this world, I think. I'm not too familiar with the synopsis. All I know is there's sorcerers and magic libraries. We're almost done. I have just a few more to talk about. I know it's a lot, I know. The next book is one that is a contemporary book, and it sounds so beautiful and heartwarming. The Secret of Clouds by Allison Richmond. Katya, a rising ballerina, and Sasha, a graduate student, are young and in love when unexpected tragedy befalls their native Kyiv. Years later, after the couple have safely immigrated to America, the consequences of this incident cause their son, Yuri, to be born with a rare health condition that isolates him from other children. Maggie, a passionate and dedicated teacher, agrees to tutor Yuri at his home, even though she is haunted by her own painful childhood memories. As the two forge a deep and soulful connection, Yuri's boundless curiosity and unique wisdom inspire Maggie to make difficult changes in her own life, and she'll never realize just how strong Yuri has made her until she needs that strength the most. The synopsis totally got me with this book, and the title just sounds, just the title in itself sounds so beautiful. The next book I have here is the beautiful holographic Jane Unlimited by Kristen Cashmore. So in this book, we're following our main character who recently lost her aunt, and after her aunt passes away, she receives this letter from a strange acquaintance who invites her to this island called Tu Reviennes or something like that. Her aunt told her if she ever got invited to this island that she has to go, even though the aunt herself never went. So it's supposed to be very strange and magical, and I don't know exactly what's gonna happen, but it says when Jane arrives on the island, she has 5 choices that could ultimately determine the course of her newly untethered life. So sounds kind of crazy. So it takes place on an island, and that always makes me biased because I'm from an island. So whenever I like see other books that's like, girl goes to island, I'm like, that's me. The next book I have here is The Silver Witch by Paola Braxton. Now this book is another fantasy book, and it follows our main character who loses her husband and decides to move to this like sort of lake area. Kind of she basically decides to go off grid, and she ends up moving to this area where witches and magic is very prevalent, and she learns how to like become a witch, or kind of to do magic, I guess you could say. That's all I really know about it, and it sounds really good, and I think this is an adult fantasy book, not a YA. Lastly, I have Beasts of Extraordinary Circumstance by Ruth M.E. Lang. In this book, we're following our main character who was, I think, literally raised by wolves and just had a very interesting childhood. And one day, a tornado comes to his like small Oklahoma town, and he is able to stop it with some sort of magic power, and he realizes that he actually is very different from other people. I don't know too much about this book outside of it just being very whimsical and magical. Okay. Now I have to figure out how to fit all of these back in here. So yeah, I'm gonna do that and then go and finish Call Down the Hawk, because I need to finish it because it's like 3 o'clock already and I have to pack and do other things, but I just need to know how that book ends first. I finished it. Okay, so I just finished Call Down the Hawk, and final thoughts. Maggie Stiefvater has done it again. I almost want to say I like Call Down the Hawk more than the Raven Cycle, but I feel like that's not fair, because 50% of the reason why I love Call Down the Hawk is because of the Raven Cycle, so it's just, you can't separate the two, you know what I mean? This book was absolutely amazing. Like, I don't know how Maggie is able to make her characters as vivid as they are, because I've read books where the characters just feel like characters, and like Maggie, she's able to give such complex backstories even to the most minor characters, and I feel like that makes such a difference. Even if it's a character I don't particularly care about, it's that extra detail and that extra backstory to them that just makes the whole world feel more full. Do you know what I mean? I'm just gonna put it out here, like the Jordan Declan thing, I am here for it. I love it. Oh my god, that's the other thing. Okay, so one of the Lynch brothers, whom is just an absolute jerk in the entire Raven Cycle, is Declan Lynch, right? So he's like Ronan's older brother, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I actually really like his character. Like, he's like one of my favorite people now in the entire series. I knew there was more depth to him than what we knew or like what we learned in the Raven Cycle, but now that we get to just focus on the Lynch family so much, I love every single one of them, like even Matthew, but like Declan Lynch has become one of my favorite characters. So I want to say that I love the new characters, but more than anything, I want to see these new characters interact with some of the old characters from the previous series. Maggie's writing style is just so magical, and the reason why the book feels so magical is because of the way she writes it. Like, she will write the most mundane thing in a way, like her wordplay on everything, and also just like the amount of research. Like, art plays a huge part in this book, and Maggie is an artist, and you can tell she did so much research, and I can just tell from her Instagram, she's constantly visiting art museums, that she really knows her stuff, and it makes a huge difference in just the overall believability or like suspension of disbelief in the book. And I am here for it. I'm here for all of it. I love it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, keep reading, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!